Okay. Hello and welcome to our special festive video that we've prepared together with Dr. Christina Pabers and Katerina Kolihova, that's me, for
Mhm.
you for the upcoming season to make it so nice and smooth to go through by taking care of your digestion. So, welcome, Christina.
Thank you so much. And yes, happy holidays. Um, whatever year it is you see this. And we just really wanted to focus on digestion and the holiday season because we definitely eat a lot more at that time.
Yeah, this is a season which can be very tempting with all the different goodies that all of a sudden are so easy to get and at every party, at every occasion. So we just want to make sure that you go through this with the most comfort that you can go through.
Yeah. And when you take care of your digestion, you're taking care of your entire health, including your hormones, your skin, any aches and pains. A lot of people don't even realize that too much sugar actually can make you have more pain in your joints.
Mm-hmm. And it's also easily for the body to get weakened by all the viruses and bacteria because
Mhm.
it needs so much energy for the digestion that needs to be helped that it doesn't have the energy that otherwise could be used to fight anything that's around you.
Yep, absolutely. And we know that even sugar can lower your immune system, but then yeah, let's not mention how much energy it takes and how tired we get when we have these big meals. And then we're exposed to all kinds of sicknesses at the same time. So,
Yeah. And this is something very easy that we've prepared for you that should be easy for you to get in the first place and then use in the second place. And
yeah.
hopefully it will taste good too.
Yep. So what we're recommending is that you incorporate these strategies into your cuisine, both at a party or at home during the whole season.
So, how much time would you say it's good to start preparing before the season starts, your body and digestion to make sure that everything goes like really nice and smoothly?
You know what? I would say that if anytime, it's never too late, so don't
Mm-hmm,
not
mm-hmm,
do it.
mm-hmm.
But I would say as soon as you possibly can, because the more kind of skillful you get and more familiar you are with the ingredients, the easier and more second nature it's going to be.
And I can also imagine that it's good to keep on going with it
Yes.
afterwards.
Yes. In fact, this is something that I try to do all year. Anytime
Mm-hmm,
I'm going to have a big occasion to eat, I'm already doing it.
mm-hmm.
And then
Yeah,
I
that's
try to
true.
do this anyway in my diet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And, one of the things is that every single traditional culture, really doesn't matter what country or culture you're from, their traditional cuisine built into it the digestive strategies, herbs and spices, seeds, the vinegars, all of these different things were there to help with digestion and absorption.
Yeah, that's why it's so important to reconnect with all these traditions because it can really help a lot.
Yeah. And it's interesting because when you think about the holidays, we think about traditions, and we're often going to some of our traditional foods. And so we might as well go a little bit deeper and explore what were some of those cuisine and herbal. This is where medicine and cooking kind of actually got together. And you can learn so much about your ancestors, and or some other culture that you don't know, when you get into some of this topic.
It's so true because just recently I've been doing a little bit more research on the spices that we use in the Czech cuisine, and I keep finding out that a lot of them actually do improve digestion because it's very common when we cook soups here to put in some bay leaf and some allspice, some black pepper, and this is all great also not only for the taste but for the digestion.
Absolutely. So that's really interesting. We use bay leaves in the United States and black pepper. Allspice, I've not heard of that so much in soups. So tell me a
Mm-hmm.
little bit more.
It's actually a combination of these three that we put very common in like a potato soup, or we have some
Ah,
traditional like sauces, like a tomato sauce or like vegetable sauce. And all these can be cooked in it, maybe with some thyme, or maybe also marjoram is quite common here. So it's just like a traditional three spices that everybody has at home that I
mhm.
always thought were mainly for the taste, but only recently I'm finding out it's actually digestion as well.
That is so fascinating. So allspice, bay leaf, and black
Black pepper.
black pepper.
Hmm.
That's
You
amazing.
would cook
And
these in any soup. And
yeah,
then you can always add some marjoram is quite common here.
yeah.
Um, as opposed to like thyme and basil, which are not that common here and
Oh,
local, but
interesting.
marjoram everybody again has at home, especially dried ones all year long, because it's really good to add for potatoes. We have like a special
Hmm.
potato pancake recipe,
Hmm.
so that's full of marjoram and garlic also, which helps with
Wow.
that as well.
I
Mm-hmm.
have marjoram in my cabinet, and I have
Mm-hmm.
allspice too. So
Mm-hmm.
I definitely, I never knew what to do with them. I just bought them because I thought they were
Yeah,
part of being
yeah,
the
yeah.
complete set.
Oh, it's such a
Okay.
good recipe to make a
Uh-huh.
very simple potato soup. You boil
Uh-huh.
potatoes and some root vegetables such as carrots, parsley root, and celery root,
Uh-huh.
and that's a base. And then you put all these spices in, and that's pretty much a soup by itself. Very simple. You can blend it a little bit
Hmm.
because when you put in the tomatoes and you blend it, you kind of make it thicker. And
Yeah.
that's like the most common meals here for the old times where people, that's all they had over the winter, just the spices, potatoes,
Hmm.
some root vegetables. So this was one of the very traditional old recipes here.
And it makes so much sense. I really think that one of the reasons, at least in the US, there are so many digestive problems is because we've industrialized our food, and we've really even let go of the traditional things that we'd use in the cuisine. And so basically, you don't have anything to help you digest your food except your own digestive enzymes and your own stomach acid and bile to break the food down. And that's a tremendous stress on the body. But the traditional cuisines had all of these ingredients, which would have supported digestion and helped with the process, and also maybe picked up the slack where we might have been weaker in our digestive system.
Exactly. And some of those soups or sauces were also at the very end kind of given more taste, not only by salt, but also adding vinegars. So that's another very common thing that you can try for yourself because it's not only the salt that gives it
Mhm.
flavor, but also just using other types of ingredients, such as the vinegars and more
And
that we could be mentioning, is worth definitely trying.
yeah, and vinegar is so good for the digestive system. And so
But also,
go ahead.
I was just going to say that you have to be careful with what kind of vinegar because you can find the very basic cheap kind, which might not be the best. But then when you make the effort and let's say you find the ume vinegar from the umeboshi plants or like the apple cider vinegar, which is the process of fermentation it goes through. And a lot of times you can find the natural kind, which still is a little bit
Mhm.
fermented, then that immediately improves and start the digestion right there.
Hmm. So, I think that it would be really interesting for us to eventually take some cooking classes from you,
It
because I
would be
think
so much
that
fun.
a lot of us in the US would be very interested in our Czech relatives. We're all related, right?
It's
And to
true. All
see
the
what,
European. Uh-huh.
yes, to see what you're doing. And one of the things I've really fallen in love with about the Czech Republic is that the traditions are so alive and well. And I think that in the US we crave that. So,
Many people are really finding the time and space to connect with it because, first of all, it's much cheaper when you create it yourself. Second of all, it's a lot of fun. And third of all, it tastes so much better. So it's all the good things that you can connect. And it's even more fun when you learn it together and then you cook it together. So
mhm,
I'm all for that.
good. Okay, so I we're gonna have to do that. You can be
Let's
our
do that.
teacher.
Okay, I would love to.
Yes, yes. And then maybe we could all travel to the Czech Republic and take some live lessons.
Yes, that would be even more fun because
Yes.
when you come at some good seasons like right now, such as the fall is, we can go out to the fields and pick a lot of the fruits ourselves or the spices that we can then later use because right now is the fall, so it's the rosehip season, it's the hawthorn season, it's the
Ah,
chestnut season, and you can make so many things from them.
oh my gosh, music to my ears. When I've been to the Czech Republic, which to see you, I fell in love. It's such an amazing place. Yeah.
Yes.
So,
So we'll have to invite you soon.
yes, yes. And yeah, many more. So, okay. So digestion. And we've talked a little bit about some of the spices. Um, one of the things that we can start with is the fresh things because they're available at the grocery store. And so I'm going to share a screen. Okay, so first of all, I just wanted to show you that the digestion is including all of the organs basically, except a few. So from the mouth to the anus is our digestive system. And
Yeah.
especially we're focusing on the liver and the pancreas and the stomach, gallbladder, and the intestines. All of it needs support, and all of it is crucial to how we digest our food. Okay, so when I go to a family get together or I'm invited to bring a dish to a feast, I like to bring a platter of the fresh leafy or roots that are very, very good for digestion, like basil, mint, arugula, dandelion leaves, radishes, especially the red ones, cilantro, and parsley. And you could put some olive oil on top or whatever oil and a little bit of rock salt, kosher salt, and it is delicious. And you can just snack on it, sometimes with cheese or
Mhm.
just alone.
There is one word that we like to add here, and that's dill. If you can find dill, which we also put in some soups or sauces or in salads, or even with like spinach, it's such a nice combination that also really helps, especially like when you use a lot of milk-based products to help with the digestion of that.
That makes so much sense. I love dill. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and we have that easily available at the grocery as well.
Yes, we might
Yeah.
add that as well.
And it's also an opportunity to share with your family and friends, a conversation piece. Oh, why do you do this? Well, it's delicious, it's cultural, and it's so good for us.
It's true.
Yeah. And you can have these things with the meal, after the meal, or before the meal as an order.
Mm-hmm. Would you also add, let's say, garlic or fresh onion? I know it can be a little bit smelly, but in terms of the digestion, let's say maybe not at the party, but when you are alone at home, uh, how does that work? Adding fresh garlic and fresh onion to your meals?
You definitely can. Excuse me. You absolutely can. Um, I've never done it because of the smell factor.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But absolutely, those are great for the digestion as well. And you do
Okay.
have to be careful with some of the harsher onions, like the purple onions. I find,
Mm-hmm.
some people will get like acid reflux,
Yeah.
so I'm always unless it's at home and I know
Mm-hmm.
everybody who's going to be eating it,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't
It's
want to make.
true. Yeah, with the garlic, it's mainly the smell, but with the onion, you can also feel a little bit bloated and have a little gas. So that's true. So you might want to be conscious of that.
Yeah, it depends on the person. Some people it
Mm-hmm.
helps so much. I have a
Mm-hmm.
patient, she's Hungarian. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but she'll tell me that when her digestion is bad, she'll chew on cloves of garlic,
Mm-hmm.
as well
Mm-hmm.
as if she's thinking she's sick.
Yeah. For this sickness, it's quite common here to take fresh garlic as well as a prevention.
Yeah. So I think many of the plants actually help. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so these can be a platter, they can be added into one of the meals, but when it's fresh, it's actually going to be stronger for the digestion. And then another one that is used in many cultures is the seeds. And the first one I'm going to point out is actually from India. And there are many
Mm-hmm.
brands of this, but you see when you go to the Indian restaurant, they have like a bowl of seeds that you're asked to just take a spoonful and eat them. This one has coriander and fennel. It's toasted, and then sesame and ajwain with a little salt. Sometimes they have a little bit of sugar, which I prefer not to have. Um, have you seen these at the restaurants before?
I've seen this in Indian restaurants, but when
Yeah.
you talk about these spices, such as coriander and fennel and cumin, it's so common here to put these spices in the bread here. When you are lucky enough that you can take the time to make your own bread, it's so worth it when you put these spices in because the bread, first of all, tastes amazing, and then it's so much easier for your digestion, especially if you make a rye bread, because rye is not that easy to digest. So then you really want to make sure that you have the spices in to help with that.
Yeah. Yeah. So yes, our all of the cultures have their own way, and those spices, and don't they say they have them a lot also in the sauerkrauts and in the coleslaw.
That's true.
We'll
It's
put,
quite,
go ahead.
hmm it's very common to put mustard seeds here in the
Hmm.
pickles and in the sauerkraut.
Yes. And actually mustard itself, the condiment, especially when it's the seeded mustards, are
hmm
very good for digestion. Um, yeah.
And mustard is so great with horseradish. If you can get some horseradish
Yes.
together with the mustard, it's such a wonderful combination.
Yes, we in the US we call that Dijon. I don't know
Dijon.
if the French call that Dijon, but
Yeah, we often have it separate. We have the mustard and then we have the horseradish. So you can either have one or the other or
ah,
both, and you can also mix them.
uh-huh.
And I make sometimes this very simple recipe to make just like a little spread from horseradish. You grind carrots, you
Hmm.
grind fresh horseradish, and then you can just put a little bit of like cream cheese or quark, and it makes such a delicious spread
Oh
or
my,
a dip.
see, we're
Mm-hmm.
getting a cooking. That sounds so good.
It's for Christmas. It's like our traditional
Oh
recipe
my
here.
gosh. Okay, I
hmm
am definitely going to try that. And I just a lot of us in the US don't know what quark is. Can you describe?
hmm
I know what it is now, but can you describe what that is?
Because very common in the US, where I live there, I learned it's Philadelphia cream cheese. But cream cheese, if you think about it, it's not the healthiest product you can find in terms of milk-based product. But quark is something in between yogurt and a cheese, but
Hmm.
it's more of a softer kind, and it's more of like a healthier and easier kind to digest because often the spreadable cheeses, they have additions that are not so easy to digest. So
Mm.
if you want to go like more a healthier way, either if you cannot get a quark, what you can do is buy like a nice thick yogurt and
Hmm.
then let it strain in a I don't know, maybe
Cheesecloth.
uh, in a cloth. And if you let it strain, then you create something very similar to a quark. And that can be a base for any like spread or any dip that you can then serve with, let's say,
Mhm.
cut vegetables, or even create like a little dip with all these herbs that you've mentioned. Like in
Oh,
a
oh, that
dip
would be
like that
good.
would be so delicious to do like a dill or I can imagine definitely cilantro or basil or mint. And you
Mhm.
can even put in some cucumbers, and it becomes just a very delicious dip
Wow.
that will also help with the digestion.
And does the quark have more of the probiotics?
I think that if you find a good yogurt with probiotics,
Mhm.
that's the best way you can have. But the quark, I don't think it's a general product with probiotics that are natural part of it, but maybe nowadays
So
it's easier to
interesting.
find.
I have
Usually
seen,
probiotics are more in yogurts.
Okay. And I have
Mm.
seen quark sometimes in the groceries. Not
Mm-hmm.
every time, but
Mm-hmm.
I think it depends on the community
Mm.
you're
Yeah,
in.
it's very common here, but
Yeah.
you can replace it with a thick good yogurt. It's very common
Oh,
to
that's amazing.
replace it with that. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay. So that's another way to incorporate the seeds and or to incorporate the herbs and
Yes.
these little leafies. Um,
And that can be like a wonderful appetizer or even like a little thing that you bring to a party together with like some cut fresh vegetables.
when we come to our party at your house in the Czech Republic,
Yes, you'll definitely have that here.
the dinner party.
Yes.
So you brought up something else that led me to the next one, which is the vinegars. And mustard is kind of like a vinegar in that it has vinegar in it.
Hmm.
But yes, the vinegars are so good for digestion.
My favorite is the umeboshi vinegar. It's so good when you can find that because let's say if I was gonna make the little spread or the little dip,
Mm-hmm.
then in terms of instead of salt, I would put a little bit of the vinegar because first of all, the umeboshi vinegar is very salty and it's a little bit sour, so it enhances the taste of any spread or dip, or even I put it a lot in soups at the end instead of salt. It's
Mm-hmm.
better not to cook it. So when you put it in a hot meal, it's better to put it at the very end when you've already turned it off, just to mix it in at the end because it has the fermented part, but it also, for the taste, it's amazing.
Oh my gosh. So is that something that you grew to love because you were exploring the Japanese cuisine, or is this something that's also common in Czech Republic?
It's very easy to find here, but it's not a local thing. For us, the local common vinegar is the apple cider vinegar. That's the most common and the most local here, and
Mm-hmm.
the most healthy that you can find.
Nice. So
Uh-huh.
we could do both of those. And I would say for us here, it's the apple cider and the wine vinegars we have as well.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Those
But
are.
yeah, and the balsamics, of course. We have a lot of vinegar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But
that's true.
vinegar is all of it, it's the sour taste. One of the things that is interesting in the Chinese medical understanding is that they knew that when you encounter the sour taste, it actually stimulates your body to make certain digestive enzymes. So vinegar is sour.
And would you say, in that sense, it's better to take maybe like a little bit of the apple cider vinegar in some water before the meal to get it started? Or would you say it's better to take a little bit after, or both?
So uh, it's a really good question. I would say it depends. In my practice, I have learned that there's almost no rule that you can always count on with the digestive system. For some people, especially if they have an ulcer or very, very sensitive stomach, they cannot take these on an empty stomach. It will
That's true.
kill
Yeah, you
them.
have to be careful with that.
For other people, it's great. It's like it jump starts their digestion and they can have a little bit and then eat and they're happy. So
Hmm.
I would say if you don't know, have it after.
Or start early
Yeah.
experimenting so that then later
Yeah.
on you already know what will work the best for you,
Yeah.
so that you'll have the healthiest and happiest Christmas season
Yeah.
and holiday season.
Yes. Yeah. And you can eat it with, just like in salads and all
Mm-hmm.
of the soups, all the different things. And
Mm-hmm.
I think probably the most traditional of in all cultures was that it was incorporated into the cuisine.
Yeah,
You didn't
that's
just
true.
take it on its own unless you were really having a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So the vinegars are great. Another one is the hawthorn berry is amazing for digestion,
Mm-hmm.
especially of the meats.
Mm-hmm. And would
Hawthorn
you
berry.
cook it with it already?
Yes. So in Chinese cuisine, but I've heard this also. A friend of mine is Danish, and she said the same thing, where
Mm-hmm.
you put the fruits in with the
Mm-hmm.
meat. So like you
Mm-hmm.
stuff your turkey or your chicken with those fruits, And then now you're actually helping to pre-digest the food, plus it tastes really good.
Now that you're saying it, I'm remembering because I honestly don't eat meat for so many years. So I have to kind of remember what used to be the common. But oftentimes here, for when they were baking meat, and let's say it was a red meat, usually like a boar or deer meat, they would put juniper in it. So
Yes.
that's probably something very similar to the hawthorn in terms of the digestion, right? So that's
Yeah.
something traditional that's cooked or baked in this case with the
Yes.
meats.
And in Indian cuisine, you have chutneys.
Mm-hmm,
All
mm-hmm.
of
That's
these, the
true.
fruits have enzymes, or when we think about
Yes.
taking pineapple enzymes
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
or papaya enzymes. So they're, when you think about people, at least in the United States, it drives me crazy. People take, I'm sorry, it's like, oh, it's really in fashion to buy just chicken breast, and then they just cook it with nothing and then put it in a salad, or make it with just have some broccoli that's steamed. It's like food with no soul.
Mm-hmm.
Not only does it not taste that good to me, but you've lost the entire cuisine tradition of how to digest your food.
Yeah,
And
it's
we
true.
we call it, in the health food industry, people say, oh, this is the most healthy, it's such clean eating, but actually
Mm-hmm.
you've lost all the help and all the other
Mm-hmm.
benefits of eating traditional cuisine.
Yes, it's true.
Yeah. So okay, so then back to our holiday. I hope you're not eating plain chicken breast with nothing on it.
Well, if you do, at least have some vinegar at the end or the bitters. And I think that's the next one on our list.
What did you, oh, the bitters. Oh yeah,
The
the bitters.
bitters,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah. Okay. So this is really the last one, is the bitters. And so I would say that in the US, sadly, we do not have bitters very much, except coffee, and chocolate is bitter. But in European tradition, and for a lot of us, that is our background, the bitters are so good for you. And I'm going to let Katerina, who makes bitters herself, talk about them.
Actually, one of the most popular way how to get your bitters here is in alcohol. You can make it yourself, or you can buy. I'm sure you have it available in the US also. Something called the Swedish bitters, because oftentimes the so-called bitter liquors, such as Jägermeister, if you taste the real bitters, such as Swedish bitters, they're very sweet because probably the marketing and they want to make sure that people actually take it. But when you're used to the bitters, then you don't want to take the sweet kind. But it's very easy to make it yourself. You can either buy some good bitter dried herbs and soak it in the alcohol, or you can buy a pre-mixed dried herbs for the Swedish bitters itself, and then just have that sit in alcohol usually for a month, and then you have it in your energy, much less expensive usually, and that's something that's really nice to take after meal. And especially very popular it is with men, and it's very easy to get your man to get like a little glass of alcohol at the end to drink, no matter how bitter it is. Usually they have no problem having some. So it helps the digestion for sure.
Uh-huh. So are you saying that you would put some drops of it, or a teaspoon, or does it, like,
You
how
can take
much?
like a little shot, actually, like
Oh, like a
equivalent maybe of like two tablespoons.
tablespoon, the big ones?
Yeah, so like
Hmm.
a little shot at the end. It's quite common to here have like a little digestive at the end, but it's better to choose the real bitter kinds than the sweet bitter such as the Jägermeister or
One,
the local one called Becherovka.
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 I need to get
That's
that.
the Czech Jägermeister. It's sweet.
Okay, we're gonna have to get some just to try, and
Mm-hmm,
then we'll
mm-hmm,
have to
mm-hmm.
make, that's another class, how to make the bitters.
Yes,
Um,
it's easy.
and I will say, one of the things that we do have in most fully stocked bars, actually, now that we're talking about this, is the brand is usually called Angostura, although I know there's other brands. And if you say you want bitters and tonic, And then
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they put a lime. And so if you told the bartender, I'm not feeling
Mm-hmm.
good, they might offer you bitters. So it's like usually
Mm-hmm.
several shakes of it in with
Mm-hmm.
some tonic water or soda water. And
Mm-hmm.
it is bitter with wormwood. It's actually the real herb.
Mm-hmm.
Although they have the cherry flavored, which is sugary.
Yeah.
And then you might have it with gin, or also too is another option.
I was gonna say gin might be another option because that's from juniper, right?
Hmm.
Especially if you get the good kind, you can really smell the juniper, and
Yeah.
juniper is definitely another herb that you might want to incorporate in your diet for digestion.
Yeah. So, and now in the US, we have so many amazing gins. It's kind of in style. So there's some
Mm-hmm.
really beautiful botanical gins. That's one of my favorite of the alcohols.
And if you want to make it like super nice and stylish, what you can do is you can buy your own good gin and then buy the dry juniper and add more in it. Because for
Oh,
me, there's never enough
yeah.
in the actual purchased alcohol. For some reason, they don't make the taste very strong. Or you can add some other herbs to support the digestion. I can imagine the hawthorn can go in it, or let's say some anise if you like, or
Bay.
fennel,
The bay
bay.
leaf would be
Yes.
really nice.
Yes,
Wow.
yes.
So
Mm-hmm.
with the juniper, in a, I don't know, like your larger bottle of
Mm-hmm.
how many juniper berries comes in a berry? Like,
I would probably put in like 2 full tablespoons
oh wow.
easily.
Okay.
Mm, yeah, the
Oh,
taste,
okay.
it doesn't change do too much the taste. It adds on the smell. And the smell already, when you smell it, you can already feel the digestive juices getting ready.
Yeah. Yeah, and digestion is actually spurred on by smell as well.
Mm-hmm.
And also the juniper helps the kidneys.
Yes, that too.
So it's good. So, what was I going to say with regards to the digestion? So, with all of these digestive things, really recommend you try many of them because one thing isn't enough and they all have their benefits. So,
Mm-hmm.
you want to really start to play with this and free yourself to just kind of, oh, let me try this one today. Why don't we do many of them today? Maybe this is going to help my digestion more.
And we might also want to mention the teas, how nice it is to drink the teas
Thank
as
you.
well.
Yes. So when you're, especially if you're out of town and you find yourself at a party or a big restaurant, tea, almost any kind of tea is going to help you with digestion, both because it's hot and also because of the herbs in the tea, even black tea.
Yeah, and especially now it's very popular, the chai tea. So that has all the good spices, and you can even make that yourself at home very easily.
Yes, it's there are so many good ones that you can order that are the real herbs that you would boil. And to put the chai spices, um, I mean, I know that chai means spice, but the to put those ingredients in a big pot and to start boiling it, you have the cinnamon, the nutmeg, allspice, you have the cardamom, the black pepper, and the clove. It's really basically the Christmas spices. We like to call them
Mm-hmm.
the pumpkin spices. And then they're boiling on the oven. It makes the home smell so good. You can have it as the dessert or with dessert. And they're so good also for colds and flus.
Mm-hmm. And also, if you think about it, one of the traditional kinds of cookies for Christmas used to be the gingerbread cookies, at
Yeah.
least here. And that already has a lot of these spices in it as well.
Yeah, especially when you make them yourself, because a lot of the ginger cookies are just artificially flavored. So again,
Mm-hmm.
industrialized cooking you tend to lose the health benefits. And so then people are actually um, maybe even having some negatives because they're artificial.
That's true. So always look that you have the natural ingredients when you can.
Yeah. So those teas are amazing, and you can if you're at a restaurant and all they have is mint tea or chamomile, you could take 3 tea bags of different herbs and put them in one cup, and that's going to help you. And just keep adding hot water to it.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's
then
always a good one.
Yep. And then, but do more than that, please. And then one of the things to do is just continue that after the holidays, because probably you've eaten a lot more and you're continuing to snack and get little cookies and this and that. And so the more you can do this for the longer time, or even just for your life, you're going to actually find that some of your health issues even reduce, like even cholesterol. A lot of these reduce cholesterol.
And that's why in the next bigger class that we're preparing for you, we want to actually connect the digestive health with the hormone health.
Yes, absolutely. All of these things are benefited, and this course, it's going to be kind of a lot because there's so much to say about how to do this, and then what some of the do's and don'ts are for people with some of the more challenging digestive problems.
So you can already get a good head start with this class
Yeah,
and start to incorporate a lot of these things that you'll learn more about later. And meanwhile, enjoy your holiday season.
absolutely. Happy holidays, and we'll look forward to seeing you again. Thank you so much.
Happy holidays.
Happy holiday.